Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ground and Pound Podcast. Quick picks video for UFC Nashville. Lewis taking on Teixeira in the main event. And if you're enjoying the content here, hit that like and subscribe button as we break down the entire card. 15 minutes or less with a confidence level traffic light system at the bottom of each pick. And kicking things off in the early prelim opener of Fatima Klein taking on Melissa Martinez here. And I'm going with Fatima Klein, a medium level confidence. I think that she's going to be able to get her grappling going. She does train with Aaran Blanchfield. I do think that her wrestling needs a little bit of work, but she does have good entries. She is the better grappler here. She comes out very aggressive from from every single opening round here. And I think that she's just going to come out and get the takedowns. I think that she's going to get on top, get in dominant positions, beat Martinez up with the ground and pound, and maybe find a submission. Martinez is very good at bouncing in and out of range. She is very light on her feet, but very small for the weight class. But I think Fatima Klein here comes in, uses the grappling, and ultimately gets takedowns, and maybe even finds a finish with a submission in the second or third round. And next up, we have Mike Davis taking on Mitch Ramirez. And I think this is a big step down in competition here for Mike Davis. He had a very disappointing last fight against Faraz Ziem. Didn't look himself. A little bit of controversy with what went on before that fight. But I think Mike Davis here is the better athlete overall. He's probably the better wrestler. Definitely the better striker, better athlete. I think the fast hands here of Davis is going to be all she wrote for Mitch Ramirez. Ramirez got knocked out in his last fight against Thiago Moises. I think Davis can do something very similar with the hands. I think he gets it done earlier than Moises, though. I'm going to say first or second round TKO on the feet here. Davis can mix in the wrestling if he wants to, but ultimately I think it's going to come down to the striking. I feel confident here in Davis to be able to bounce back from his kind of terrible performance realistically in his last fight, pulling guard. I don't know what that was about. Give me Mike Davis, man. I think he gets it done. Confident pick here. And next up, we have Kennedy Nzechukwu getting it done over Volta Walker. And I flip-flopped on this one. I can't say I'm confident, but I do think that the striking here of Kennedy is going to be enough. Very, very big, even at heavyweight, very long, 83-inch reach. Absolute physical specimen. Very tough to take down, I think. I think Volta Walker here, I have seen him obviously get 2 heel hook victories against lower-level heavyweights. He looked fantastic in his last fight. He's definitely cut weight. He's definitely taking his career seriously. He looks slimmer, but I just think here that Kennedy's going to be tough to take down and hold down and ultimately find a submission on. I think Kennedy's striking in his range here is going to be all it takes here for him to find either a late TKO or maybe even a decision here, winning the second and third round after Walker can't get the fight to the ground and gets tired. Not necessarily confident because Walker has been on a good run, but give me Kennedy to get it done with the striking here. And next up, we have Lauren Murphy taking on Eduardo Mora. And I'm going to go with Mora here. I think that she should be able to get this done. I don't necessarily trust Murphy, 41 years old. What's it, 2.5-year layoff now. Murphy's just one of these, these fighters that's very tough. She gives as good as she gets. She likes to get into the pocket and almost brawl. Doesn't throw a ton of kicks, can mix in wrestling. But I just think that Mora is going to be at home now at this weight class. She missed weight in her first 2 fights. I think she's going to have better cardio because of that. I think she's going to be the better athlete. She's younger. She's hungrier. I think she's faster. She has a nice right hand as well. I think that she can definitely time Murphy coming into the pocket in a sloppy manner. And I do think that Mora can mix in the takedowns here. So give me Eduardo Mora to get it done. Medium level confidence here. But I will say, women's MMA, big favorites, big underdogs. They can always be a little bit tricky. But give me Mora here to get it done, mixing in the martial arts. And next up, we have Jake Matthews taking on Chidi Njokuani. And I'm going with Chidi here. I think that this fight really just comes down to whichever person takes the center of the cage and really just holds it. And I think that's going to be Chidi here. I think that his Thai style, his ability to use linear strikes, use that teep kick up the middle, he has a very nice jab, a very nice right hand. And I think that Matthews has success when he's going forward. When he gets backed up or he's circling around the outside, I think that's where he struggles. And I think he's going to struggle here against Chidi. 3-0 at welterweight since moving down from middleweight. I think the range here and the Thai boxing style of Chidi Njokuani gets it done here. Really just patrolling the center of the octagon and using his range to his advantage here. So give me Chidi Njokuani, medium level confidence to get it done against Jake Matthews. And next up, we have Chris Curtis taking on Max Griffin. And I'm going with Chris Curtis here. I think he bounces back after that TKO loss to Roman Kopylov. That late head kick there was an embarrassment of a stoppage. But I think Chris comes in motivated. We know that he has nice boxing. He does a fantastic job of rolling with punches. I think he's the better striker in this matchup. Great takedown defense. And to me, Max Griffin is just a guy who he's got boxing, he's got wrestling, he's got striking, but it's nothing really stands out. Nothing's really elite. And I just think here that Chris's striking is just going to be all it takes for him to get it done, rolling with the punches, countering, ripping to the body here. And I just think that he's, even though both guys are 39, I think Chris Curtis has shown that he's still got more left in the tank. This is a step down in competition for him. So it's going to be Chris Curtis here to get it done, either by decision or maybe even find a late knockout. And next up, we have Junior Taffer taking on Tuco Tokos. And why the hell is this one on the main card? Yeah, don't get me wrong, this one's going to have some action. I wouldn't be surprised if Tokos mixes in the takedowns here. We've seen with Taffer, he has terrible takedown defense. But I do think that Junior Taffer here is going to be the harder hitter, the one that is going to do the most damage with the striking. I think he sprawls and brawls, keeps this one on the feet, and ultimately is able to find the knockout here. I think that Tokos is a little bit chinny, a little bit unathletic, very hittable. He does train, Tokos does train at Kill Cliff. I've not necessarily seen anything that would suggest that he trains or has any skills that represents that gym very well. Give me Junior Taffer here to find the knockout, just like the Taffer brothers like to do. Not confident, though. Who can be confident in this one? And next up, we have Austin Lane taking on Victor Patrino. Patrino moving up to heavyweight here from a 2-fight skid at light heavyweight. And Victor Patrino is an absolute physical specimen, and I think that's actually all it's really going to take here to beat a guy like Austin Lane. Lane likes to mix in takedowns, but can't keep that up over the course of 3 rounds. He tends to gas if he does mix in the wrestling, and I think when it comes to the striking, he's very, very chinny. I think it's 6 or 7 losses now by knockout. I think Patrino's going to ultimately find the chin at some point in this fight. I think he's going to have success at heavyweight. I don't think he's necessarily going to struggle at heavyweight. The division is a lot less skilled than light heavyweight or even middleweight. And I just think that Patrino here, he does hit hard. He can mix in the wrestling, and I think he has the better cardio. So as long as Patrino takes this one serious at move up to heavyweight, I don't think it's a bad move. And I think he finds the chin here of Austin Lane on the feet and gets in the win column here as his UFC heavyweight debut. And next up, we have Nate the Train Lanwir taking on Morgan Sherriier. And give me Sherriier here. I wasn't too impressed with Nate the Train's last performance. He didn't look good against Choi. He's 37 years old, taking a lot of damage. He does like to brawl. He does like to mix in takedowns and really go for the wrestling. But I just think, to be honest with you, a guy like Morgan Sherriier is tailor-made to beat a guy like Nate Lanwir. Morgan Sherriier has fantastic takedown defense, very solid kickboxing. He'll go to the body. He'll rip kicks to the body. And I think realistically, he's the much more technical striker here. Obviously, both guys have got a lot of experience inside of MMA, a lot of fights under their belt. I think Morgan Sherriier has beaten opponents much, much tougher than Nate Lanwir. I think that the 37-year-old Nate Lanwir here is on his decline, and I just think that Morgan Sherriier is going to be able to get it done with the striking and the kickboxing and keeping this one on the feet. So give me Morgan Sherriier, medium-level confidence to get it done. And next up, we have Calvin Kattar taking on Steve Garcia. And give me Calvin Kattar, man. He's a favorite here on the Ground and Pound podcast. Carlos's boy. I think he gets it done here against Steve Garcia. Steve Garcia, very aggressive. He does tend to crash into the pocket a little bit wild. Obviously known for his power and his finishing ability. He does mix in grappling as well. But I just think here that Calvin is going to be the much more technical, experienced fighter. I think he's going to be able to time a shot as Steve Garcia comes in wild. And I do think that Garcia's time is up, especially when it comes against the higher level guys like Calvin. And I think that obviously that this 4-fight losing streak that Calvin Kattar has been on is against high level guys. Yusuf Salal didn't want to stand and trade with him. He wanted to dance around on the outside. Aljamain Sterling wanted to wrestle with Calvin. I don't think that that's going to be how this fight's going to play out. I think Garcia is going to do what he always does. He's going to meet Calvin in the middle, and I think ultimately the technical boxing, the striking, and even those elbows of Calvin Kattar are going to be too much here for Steve Garcia. Calvin's not chinny. He's just fought some tough level guys, high level guys, and I think Steve Garcia is going to find out the hard way this Saturday. Let's go, Calv. And next up, we have the co-main event. We have Gabrielle Bombe taking on Steve Wonderboy Thompson. And I flip-flopped on this one a little bit. I think that Wonderboy is still very good on the feet, very high-level striking. He's got that karate style, that kickboxing style. And I do think he's still live, even at the age of 42. He did come off that knockout loss to Joaquin Buckley, but he looked good in that fight. And Buckley's been on a tear at this division. But Gabrielle Bombe does a good job of mixing in takedowns, which I think has been the kryptonite for Wonderboy in a lot of his losses. When you look at his win over Kevin Holland, we know that Kevin Holland's not going to mix in the grappling and the wrestling, whereas a lot of his other opponents, we've got Gilbert Burns, Joaquin Buckley, for example, those guys are all going to be prepared to strike and mix in the takedowns. I think that's exactly what Bombe does here. I think if he can get takedowns sort of in the center of the octagon, I think that's going to do him wonders. I think he's going to look to try and take the back and get the body triangle ride out rounds here and ultimately try to look for the submission. I don't think he'll submit Wonderboy. I think he'll control him on the ground and win a fairly comfortable decision, 29-28 here with the grappling. And I do think that Bombe will be out of his depth on the feet, but he's credentialed enough to be able to last on the feet with Wonderboy and ultimately find the takedowns. But I wouldn't be surprised if Wonderboy does pull off the upset. Slight lean to Bombe here to get it done. And that brings us to the big boys in the main event. Derrick, the Black Beast Lewis, taking on Talison Teixeira. And I'm ever so slightly going to lean to Teixeira here. I think both guys are very hittable. Teixeira showed in his Contender Series fight that he is very hittable. He does leave his chin high up in the air, which is something you cannot do against a guy like Derrick Lewis, UFC all-time leader in knockouts. And, obviously Lewis is the wrong side of the age gap in this one, 40 to 25. Lewis obviously getting up there in age, but he always has that one-shot power, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to land that against an inexperienced guy like Teixeira. But Teixeira has snappy kicks. He has the reach advantage here. We've seen Lewis struggle in recent matchups, not necessarily beating the higher-level guys in this division, and obviously had to pulling out of his last fight due to illness. So I do think that Teixeira here is probably going to get this one done with his range and just kind of blitz Lewis early and using his kicks, using his elbows, and using his length here to get it done in the main event. And just to let you know, some of the videos that we have on the channel or coming up on the channel, we have the dog of the week for UFC Nashville. That is my favorite betting underdog on the entire card. Full highlight reel tape there for you guys to enjoy, along with why I'm picking that individual for this UFC Nashville card. The full card breakdown in detail. Carlos and I go over each individual fight, talking about why we like each person on this matchup, on this card. So a little bit more detailed of a breakdown for you guys in that one. And also, we released a video that's doing very well on the channel. We've got the Who Will Win series between JDM taking on Islam Makhachev. That matchup is going to be announced later on in the year of what card it will be on. We know this fight's going to take place, and Carlos and I do a video breaking that one down of how we see that fight playing out. And if you're enjoying the content here, as always, 15 minutes or less, full card breakdown. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.